Okay, I'm calculating market share here. I've got Milky Ways, Snickers, and Three Musketeers. And I used my rating average. So my total of all my rating averages for my three products was 11.73. And the rating average for Milky Way was 3.93. So I divided 11.73 into 3.93. That's how I got 0.33, which is 33%. I just rounded to the nearest hundredth or the nearest percent. That's all you have to do too. For Snickers, it was 11.73 into 4.00. That was my rating average. So I did the long division, dividing of decimals, and I got 0.34, and that's where I stopped. That's all I need. Three Musketeers, the rating was 3.80, so 11.73 goes into 3.80, 0.32, and then there's some change, but you can round. So I've got my three rating averages. I can round those to the nearest 5%. So I rounded 33 up to 35, 34 up to 35, and 32 down to 30, so that all of them added together equals 100. So that's my market share. This is how much I'm going to buy of each product: 35, 35, and 30. We are not going to do this part of the project because we're limited on time here. So if you did a graph, then I'll put a little bit of extra credit on there, but we don't have to do it. So we're going to purchase 100 items. I used my market share, so my rounded market share, so 35, 35, and 30. These prices, these costs to me, I just got off of Amazon.com. So you can do the same thing. They're negative numbers because they're my costs. So I showed my work to show that I can multiply decimals, and I multiplied 35 times a negative 0.76 to get that negative 2660. 35 times negative 0.79 to get my negative 2765. And 30 times negative 0.54 to get negative 1620. I added all those negative numbers together and got my total initial cost. That's how much I'm going to pay, actually borrow from the bank, and pay to set up this business. Now I did not specify in the directions, and I should have, but you can round to the nearest hundredth on your weights. So I found on Amazon.com, I found the weight for one candy bar. One Milky Way candy bar was 1.84 ounces, and I just used a metric calculator on Google to figure out what that converted to in grams. So for this one, 1.84 ounces converts to 52.163 grams. I've got to multiply that by 35, so that's what I did here. I got 1,825.705 grams, and since this is the metric system, I can convert that to 1.825705 kilograms and just end up rounding that to 1.83. I did the same for my Snickers, 50.462 grams times 35. See, I showed my work. Converted to 1.766 kilograms. And a 2.13 ounce Three Musketeers bar was 60.384 grams. I multiplied that by 30. That was much easier. And I got 1,811.52 grams, which became 1.81152 kilograms because there is 1,000 grams in every kilogram. So finally, I rounded those off to the nearest hundredth, and I added them up here to get 5.41 kilograms. That's my weight that I'm going to be paying for if I were paying shipping costs. The idea was just to get you using the metric system. Next up, I'm going to charge 10% more than I paid for each candy bar. So to do that, to do a 10% markup, I want to have the price that I paid, which would be 1 times 0.76, and then 0.10, that's 10%, times my price, 0.76. So 1.10 times 0.76, you can use a calculator on it. I got 0.836 and rounded to 0.84. I did the same process here, 1.10 times the price that I had paid, and I rounded it to 0.87. 1.10 times the price that I had paid, and then I rounded it to the nearest hundredth. On the number line handout, I know it said use, on the number line part, I know it said use a number line handout, but you don't have to do that. You can just draw a simple number line. I just need to know that you can order integers. So I've got negative 0.79, negative 0.76, negative 0.54, and then 0.59, 0.84, and 0.87. So I've got these on a number line. It shows I know which is greater, which is farther from 0. Next up, determining the range of costs. To do that, well, basically what I'm asking is how much distance on a number line is between my furthest cost, 0.79, and 0.54. So what is the distance between there? To find that out, I can subtract 0.79, negative 0.79 from negative 0.54. And since this is actually like adding, I would get 0.25. So that means there's 0.25 between those two end values in my data set. So my range is 0.25. Same question, what's the price range that I'm charging? My Three Musketeers bars, I'm going to charge 59 cents. My Snickers bars, I'm going to charge 87 cents. So how much distance is there between those two? I took 0.87 minus 0.59 and I got 0.28 as my price range. So this part, the revenue is the money you bring in from selling whatever it is you're selling. We're going to assume that we sell every single one. So I'm taking the price, my rounded price that I'm selling these for, multiplying it by 35, the quantity that I'm selling, and I get $29.40. Same process here, 0.87 times 0.35 gives me 30.45. My 59-cent price times quantity of 30 gives me 17.70. When I add all those up, I get $77.55. Now to pay back the bank wants a 5% return on its investment. I've got to pay them back what I borrowed, which was my initial cost, and I've got to pay them back 5% of that initial cost. So they want their loan back, and they also want 5% or 0.05 times the amount of that loan too. So I have to pay them extra. That's why they'll loan me money, because I'll pay them extra when I pay them back. So I had to multiply my initial cost times 0.05, and that gave me 3.5225, which I rounded to 3.53. And then I added that 3.53, which is actually negative because it's a cost to me, 3.53 and the loan that I paid the bank, 70.45, and I got a negative 73.98. I have to pay back the bank $73.98 since I borrowed this much and they wanted a 5% return. Finally, I'm getting to my profit. So I take my revenue. Profit is revenue minus cost. And in this case, minus cost is kind of like adding a negative, since I've got my cost in negative as a negative number. So I'm taking the revenue, 77.55, and I'm subtracting $73.98 my cost, and that gives me my profit. And the profit that I had was $3.57. So that was my business. Last skill we had was mean, median, and mode. So what I did is I went on Amazon and I found 8 prices for a Milky Way bar. I calculated the mean. I used a calculator, but I showed my work. I added up all of these prices and divided by the number of prices 8, which was 0.7925. I rounded to 0.79. So that's saying that the mean price of a Milky Way was 79 cents. To get my median, I took all my prices and I put them in order. And since this was an even number, 8 values, I took the middle of the middle two values, and since they are the same value, the middle of them is going to be the same. It's going to be 0.76. Because if I added 0.76 and 0.76, then I divide it by 2, I get 0.76. My mode was also 0.76 because 0.76 showed up 1, 2, 3 times. It was the value that showed up the most. Now I know the last thing says create a PowerPoint, but we're not going to do that because we are definitely pressed for time. So once you've gotten here, you are done. Congratulations.